on today. I do believe we'll have a few more folks joining us as we keep jumping into this. But we're going to go ahead and get things started because I do have a lot to cover today. I want to go back over cycle 4 feedback very quickly to just give you an update on where we're at. I also got some information that we do need to have some conversations on. And then we're going to spend a good chunk of our time in the cycle 5 feedback today as well. So you guys should have gotten an email from Sarah, I believe Friday last week. We finished our sprint on Thursday and pushed to UAT. So we do have some items that have been updated in UAT. Those were listed out in the email that Sarah provided. Additionally, I came back in here and I put in blue um, what items were updated in UAT. Our green items are items that have already been closed. We've discussed there's no action item out of them. Purple items are things that I still need to do research on. I'm coming back to this. It is kind of dependent on some other things. So we have some green items. And then one of the big items that I wanted to circle back and discuss today, it's one of our first items up here, is the conversation around a one name search and a two name search, first name, last name. So I talked with the devs and the solution that they proposed, we had a very long conversation about this. One of the solution that is proposed here is we're going to look at doing a radio button where you can pick if you're going to do a quick search, which is going to use just the single name field and populate with sorry, I'm like blanking on the term. Populate with suggested searches. So as you start typing in, it's gonna give you options that match what you've typed in. And as you type more, it'll redefine that drop down list for you to be able to pick from on the fly or just type it in, add more and click search and run the search. Or there'll be another radio button option where you can pick to do a full name search, where it will give you a first name, middle initial, and last name field. And you can use those. They won't be required, that you can just use them as you need. And it will bump up against the logic being used in the deduping search that also bumps up against the nickname database. So you can use that search as well. We'll also build out the single keyword search. We've identified a lot of additional logic to go into that, and in the additional names to help with things like hyphens and suffixes being put into names, and things of that nature that will be included as well. So I want to pause because I know this was a big discussion we had for folks on what options that we ended up going with, and we're going to go with the best of both worlds of giving you the option to pick. We cannot have one that is name, like do one or break it down. The devs had some concerns on having that up there with both ways and the potential for it to impact the list in ways that we would not want.
Hi, Olivia. This is Christy. So you're saying we could just choose which method we want. Is that by clicking on the button?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm based on the feedback, we had folks leaning towards more folks wanting the single search option. So I think that will be what we have it defaulted to. But you
Okay.
will have the option to do a full name search, which will give you the first name, middle initial, and last name field broken out, more like we see here with the addition of the middle initial.
Okay. I think that's an easy compromise. That way we all can just choose. So thank you.
Perfect. Any other thoughts or comments on that before we move on? All right. Um, so green again is done. We had some cards created. So some of the things I needed to check with devs on our ability to do that. We're able to do some of the things like being able to click enter and search instead of having to click the button. We're going to see most of these red items that I have now are in the current sprint, so they'll be coming out right after Thanksgiving. Um, I did want to note, we had a question. I believe this came from one of the SME testers in LWS 7. But we did talk about load times for exporting the data. Um, I'm going to get some cards created, and they're looking at this internally, that we're going to be offloading some of our downloads to the server so they don't run client side, so that the systems can or the users can still engage with the system while longer downloads are running. So we are making sure we have processes in place for that, so we don't get held up or the system isn't timing out on us. Again, another card created. And then, Rory, this was one I think you had mentioned, and this was a mix-up one, but we did get this resolved. We are going to end up moving the text. So we're not going to move the buttons per se, but the text is going to show, hold on. The text is going to show in this space to the left of the button, so it will be more tied to the table.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think I'd done a couple of, sorry, probably very crude. I just used like Microsoft Paint as a screenshot and just drag things around. But okay, I see it on your screen now. Yeah, I
Yep.
provided a couple of ways where it just would make, um, if depending on the size of the screen someone's viewing on, if they're not, it's like we know where we're supposed to look, but career planners that haven't tested this or used this before, may not realize it, that yeah, that text, if it's closer to like right above the table, then it's like, oh, I'm supposed to look below. So it's
Yep.
probably pretty obvious, but I just thought like it would be a little bit more obvious, I guess, if you put it there. So thank you.
Yeah.
And I apologize to Hilda if I accidentally covered her comment, by the way, but it sounds like she remembered what she had written there.
Yes, I think we got that. Hers was actually that export one. I believe she had mentioned that
Oh,
she
okay.
had said that.
Okay.
Her comment just got moved up too. So
Oh, okay. Glad I didn't wipe it out on accident. Sorry.
perfect. So that is the customer list. On the application listing, we didn't have as much. Some stuff went to UAT. We had some new cards created that are in the sprint. Then we get to add customers. So we had a little bit more here. UAT updates. We got new cards created for next release. Lots of new cards created. We're going to be really looking at the way in which the questions on that create customer record were worded. That's what a lot of the feedback was about. So we're cleaning some of that stuff up quite a bit, adding an info bubble, and just making it a little more user friendly. I think, Rory, you might have been talking when I came in. We're having some folks with the drop down lists. Um, we're going to make those so they open fully, so you don't have to scroll to engage with them. You can see all the answer options. We have a chore out right now to look for a better calendar picker. That allows us to either pick from a calendar or type directly in and not necessarily have that giant calendar open up. For some folks, it was open up over where they were typing in because they were using smaller screens than we use. So we are going to be, there was a few items that folks said, I just don't think this is the most user friendly. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So we have some fixes and we are doing some research on addressing that kind of stuff. So that's what we're seeing in a lot of the red here. You're welcome to go back and look at this stuff more thoroughly to see exactly what cards were created for. I still need to do a little research on the Pearl. I have an open item out that will kind of tie back to this. And then Laura had some questions. Laura, I still need to pose this to the state group. I'm going to add it on once we get back from Thanksgiving break. We'll have more time on our stated meetings. And I thought there was one other thing. So I think this is on our deduping search conversation when we get there. Let me make sure I didn't skip over it here. Okay. All right. Now to the dedupe search. Let me also open up my dev notes from my conversation with them. So we are looking at, we have a nickname database that we have included in the system. It is going out on our next UAT release. The way that this is going to work is that whenever we are running names in the system, we have a database built out, a pretty big database built out with various nicknames. So we can expand on this if our local areas are having common nickname issues within their areas. They can reach out to us. We can expand this database. But whenever somebody searches in a name, like they put in Gail, it's going to search and try to match not only for Gail, but is there anybody also with the name Abby that has the same last name or date of birth that we put in, or Abigail? So that if people are coming in and saying, hi, I'm Abigail the first time and I'm Gail the second time, maybe they go by Abby the third time, we can attempt to bring visibility to those records if they are still meeting the requirements of either having an additional match on last name or date of birth. So we're going to be, that's our nickname database. And this is a very, very big database. These are all different records in there. These are our test ones. Google and Orange are not real. But we're doing some additional testing on our end where it's nice to have very different items that we can bump up against, make it very clear. In addition to that, let me jump back here. We are doing some work around suffix hyphen apostrophes within names and how we can attempt to match those across the system. So one of the questions the devs had when we talked about suffix, so right now in IWDS, there is no suffix field. You guys are just putting a suffix in with the first or last name. We checked the IWDS database and it is everybody's doing it a little different. Do we need to explore in 2.0 having a separate suffix field to map that to, or standardizing the way in which we do it? Our other option is to just expand our search to try to account for a suffix whenever entered into the name, to look across and see, is it also potentially like mismatched in a first name or a last name? But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this because we had devs looking at a lot of options, but it really comes down to like the workflow for you guys and how you want to standardize your workflow in the new system.
Hi, it's Lisa. I've never searched for the suffix because there's always been issues with that. And even if you try to standardize it, there's always going to be an issue. So I suggest having a suffix field if people want to search for that. Because I mean, I've done searches in the past in both iWDS and Career Connect. If I say like Michael Smith Jr., I'm not going to get Michael Smith. I won't get him. I have to just say Michael Smith. I can't say Michael Smith Jr.
Okay. Do you think if we had a field when you're entering a name or you enter the suffix, your staff will put the suffix in the suffix field, or that they will still just put it in the last name or first name?
I think that that would just be part of the training. And yes, they should put it in the suffix field. because, it just makes sense.
Hmm.
But again, some people, they might go by junior or they might go by the second.
Right.
So it just really depends on what individuals go by. And that's why I think it should just be its own field.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would be nice to have it as a separate field if possible, because sometimes it's, in IWDS in that text box, it's like if it's a junior or the third, like do some in a hurry, I don't know, some career planners may, historically, like I've seen somewhere they put a space, maybe they put a comma after the last name and then the junior or the third.
Hmm.
If that text box in IWDS, the current IWDS, if it's programmed to allow for, there's no restrictions on, the characters, like you can't put a comma, you have to just put junior, then it'll let you kind of put anything in there. So yeah, sometimes then if you're searching and currently in IWDS by like last name and you put a junior, if you didn't put the comma or the space, then you could actually be limiting yourself to not finding something that is in there. It's just how they spaced it. So if a suffix is a separate filter field, that would be great if we needed to add one. That would I agree that would probably work much better. And then that way it'll still pull the name if it's like Michael Smith Jr., Michael Smith III, and there's a regular Michael Smith in the system. Then if you put Michael Smith and you get all three, that's fine. But you're not, if you decided not to use the suffix filter, it'll still capture
Hmm.
somebody's name with a suffix, right?
Right.
Yeah, though, then that seems good to me.
So I got a question then. Is it any of the IWDS current customer going to be transferred or grandfathered into this system? Because I'm hearing the suffix, but we don't have a suffix per se in there when you're adding a customer in there. I just noticed that it has got first name, middle initial, and last name. Now, when you start adding a suffix, those, I don't know, would that pop up? So can you be a little bit more clear? Because I'm looking at IWDS right now. This is Robert. And I do agree with Lisa to have it as a separate, but what happened with the people that currently will be active and transferring it over into the new system? That's my concern. I
Yeah.
let you.
So we will have some data cleanup when we migrate over. So they would migrate over as they are in the system. So let's see. So this is IWDS data. So Joe second would come over as Joe second, and we would have to have our devs run some code on our end to say find people with III, JR, SR, and go in and catch as many of those, and then work with one of our quality assurance staff to go into those records and remove the two onto the suffix, to move the two onto the suffix field. I don't know if our devs would be able to do that as part of
I,
migration. That's something that they are talking about. And if we go that route, we'll have to have a plan for, but there's going to be a lot of transfer and aligning of data with the moving of the system.
that seemed like it would be a lot of work. And let's say for the for the state of Illinois, will y'all run a report just to see how many suffix is there?
We wouldn't
Because
run a report. We would run a query. It'd all be done on the back end and take a matter of
oh,
seconds.
okay, because I can see the grandfather people, okay, staying as they are, and then have it set up where any new clients have that suffix in there. Because
Hmm.
eventually those old people gonna bounce off. They're not gonna be, how much active people we're gonna have between this time and when you're getting ready to deploy this new system. So we don't want your what do you call it again, your people to maintain or try to fix a problem that really, do we really need it fixed, or we just should be more concerned about the new people coming in instead
Except
of,
they might come back through the system a
Yeah.
second time.
Yeah.
well, how many should we looking at? We can't try to be 100%. Stop. I don't want this meeting to be that we got to be 100%. We're gonna have exception. Let's face reality. We don't need to have everybody set up. If that situation come up, then we'll fix it. We'll adjust
Well,
it.
We'll
And
explore that, Robert, the
right.
ROI on all of this. If it is not a high ROI, we'll find an alternative route, maybe go the way
Yeah.
you're saying. But with our devs, we're able to do quite a bit of easily identifying and move. We're going to have to do a lot of data migration with the new system. And if we can identify these things now instead of later, then we can incorporate that into our process and have a much more streamlined workflow of how we migrate that data and the type of data we need to translate over into different areas. So we'll definitely, I see what you're saying. We'll definitely make sure that ROI on any of this is worth it. But moving forward to know this is an issue and that we can't even search on suffixes in IWDS because we can't get results back is something that we need to address and make sure doesn't happen in the new system.
I agree with you on that now. Yes. Period. Yeah. On the new system, let's make sure we had that fine tuned perfectly. And don't kill ourselves on the old system because I was there under the three of them. This would probably be the fourth update, and that's caused a lot of problem in trying to get those stuff written correctly and stuff. But I'm glad y'all doing what we can do for the new system. This is great.
Um, so I'm going to scroll down because there's a couple other big items that we want to talk about here. Okay. Another big item that I think we have a solution for that I want to put in front of you all is the duplicate customer search when we get duplicates coming back and we need a way to test these records. So right now, the issue we have is that if we click this, we're leaving our search. So what we want to do, when I talked to the devs, our main two talking points were this and then the name search. We spent a lot of time really looking into the various options on this and how it would impact the system on the back end, but mostly your guys' workflow. So when we come in to add a customer, instead of opening up in a modal, we want to open up the duplicate customer search in a new page, like a full page, where you guys will be able to get back to the listing, but we'll have more real estate where we can, on one side of the page, have you run the search. And when you see a customer, we can click it. And on the other side of the page, it will open up a preview of the customer for you. Um, Al, would you mind showing what you kind of showed to our devs to this group so they can kind of visualize it? I know you might need a second to get it all opened.
You talking about the pop out from the right?
Yep.
For the okay, I'll get it set up and then I'll give you
Yeah. So one of the things we were running into about we don't want to open modals on modals. We are not sure that having the whole purpose of a modal is that you don't interact with the page behind you. So making the modal smaller still is not going to allow you to fully like view some of this stuff. You're going to kind of be stuck at this top section. And then clicking a back button, that's just a lot of cookies and data that the system is going to try to hold for you that could get messed up somehow. So we wanted to make it a little more intuitive and user friendly so you don't end up losing what you're trying to hold on to, which is the search parameters in case this customer is not the correct customer. So there's some other tools. Al showed us a really cool one that we want to try to do here where you can preview things. And if it's correct, you can go deeper into that, like go into that file. If it's not correct, you still have access to this to either look at another record or move on with adding the customer. So I'm going to stop sharing. So whenever Al's got his stuff up, he can. I did not prepare him for this, so he's going to have to get to it and get logged in to show you.
Yeah, I'm getting to the list. Just give me a second.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Let me get it up here. You see this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, what we have here is this view capability where it pops out from the right. And then we can even change that and leave it up. So we would have details here, not updatable details, but just, details about that. So imagine back now to your list where you have results, but you want to look a little bit farther into that result. Say this was your result list. It could bring it in from the right without leaving to find out information about that particular customer, right? So that's the concept. And then your search results would be on the left, and that would you'd be able to look through some of this information before you decided what to do without leaving your search results. And then you could just, close it if you needed to. So that's the concept.
And then from there, Al, if you click on that one more time, there is like a button, view record. So we'd have something similar that's down at the bottom right.
Right.
We would
So-
replace that on our, like make it a little more apparent on ours, but you would have the ability then to say, yes, this is the customer I want, and then fully go into their record.
Yep.
You wouldn't have to go back to the list and refine them or anything.
Right. It would take you right through the profile probably when you did that.
So this is Lisa. So it's kind of like when you're shopping and you hit the quick shop and like the quick view, instead of going fully into the item, you can just do a quick view.
Yep.
I like that
Yeah.
idea. That's very nice.
Yeah, we'll identify the parts of the customer profile that you need to see to make the determination of it if this is a duplicate or not, and then highlight those in our quick view. And then if you're like, yes, this is who I want, you can go fully in and engage with their record. If it's not, keep clicking and view the different records, or we'll have the like add new customer button there too, so you can just continue moving forward with your process.
And
Yep.
you said you can't edit it. It said like you found the correct person and you want to update the phone number and the company name. You won't be able to do that. So
You'll
you
have
just
to
would
go
go
right to
into the
view
record.
you would
Yeah,
have
you'll go to the record and then you'll get the full record and you can do anything, whatever you want in here. So because it's not that busy here like this, but I'm just saying you'll be into your customer profile and you'll be able to edit it at that time. But
okay.
the quick view is just, so you can actually switch that and look at it, say, okay, and get enough details there, you can find out which one you want or not.
And would there be a possibility of where, okay, we have multiple, we could delete them if they're not something that we need because it's an inaccurate customer or something, or all these records gonna always stay put?
Well, delete and merge, there's two different concepts there, I believe, that we got to talk about how we want to do that. But yeah, we're going to give you that capability, but you may need to merge records too, though. So we got to think through that. But if you find
Yeah.
you might have information that's valid in two different records, right? And then you're like, oh, I either got to retype all this in on the one I keep, or maybe I can merge these. So we do have to talk about that yet.
That'll be done outside of this workflow though. Whenever we're doing our duplicate customer search, wouldn't necessarily be the space where you delete and merge records. We'd need a place for that, that only the appropriate staff have access to do that kind of work. And we do have that flagged as a conversation we need to have. So, that is the option that I see a lot of people in the comments saying that good, looks great, would be amazing. Cool. So that is the option that we came up with based on your guys' feedback and the need to maintain the search to just aid in having the appropriate workflow going. Make sure I'm sharing the right screen here. Hold on one second. I gotta get everything back up. All right. So if you guys are okay with that, we will get user stories built out to start moving in that direction. As part of, we also had possible reversing of first and last names. So that we are going to include some conversation around making sure that with our quick search, that's going to be caught a little easier than with our first and last name search, where we're identifying those as a specific first or last name. But we do have some notes flagged to have additional conversations with developers about that. I actually ended up running out of time with the developers. I didn't get quite through everything I wanted. So I'm going to be meeting with them again on some of this stuff. This is looking at hyphenated names. So we do have talks about the best way to update our search so that hyphens or apostrophes are not throwing the search off if they are or are not included on the record versus when you are typing them in. Um, same thing, hyphenated names. So this was one of the examples that I have flagged for the custom or for the devs to look at to make sure that we're including logic in that search. Got this address, search on enter. Yes, enter again. This was being tested, and so another thing we're gonna do, this was being tested in the filters, not in the dedupe search modal. We're gonna apply that logic to the dedupe search logic to the filters. So right now the filters are looking more for an exact match, where the dedupe search is trying to find potential duplicates based on an array of variables. We're going to move that over to be doing the same thing here. We had an overwhelming amount of feedback saying that that's what folks wanted to see so that they can find their customers that they're engaging. We're also going to look at, once we have logins, we have this on the entity management, but I believe a way you can add to favorites. We'll explore that for customers as well. That might not be an MVP feature, but something that comes out quickly after MVP, where your career planners can favorite their customers to have a more condensed list of customers that they want to see that they're working with as well. So this should help with just having better access to customers in the listing. A lot of these were the same thing. They were referring to the filters, so it wasn't catching dupes the way you would expect it to. We had a bug that has been created to address the issue here. This is the same thing we just talked about, where the modal wasn't closing out when you clicked the customer's name on the dedupe search. So we have our new preview way that we're going to do this. If you type in a date of birth, it requires a 2-digit month, a 2-digit day, and a 4-digit year. However, if you type in a 1-digit month, a 1-digit day, and a 4-digit year, it will auto fix it for you. It does not do that for the year, though. You do have to type in the 4-digit year. You'll get an error. This may potentially change with the research that we're doing for the calendar picker UI updates as we're looking at different options. This is first and last names getting mixed up. That's something we already talked about. Okay, so this is kind of the bigger conversation we just talked about, the ways that we engage with the customers here. So this is our preview. It was mentioned a couple times. This is just a really good example of somebody testing and mixing up the year when they put in. They searched 88, but it was input 1998, so they were having trouble finding the record. So this is example we'll give to the devs to work through potentially the need to. Chris Tylen gave some information that I think is going to help this when they're searching just a letter um, of the first name and then the full last name. We know that's a common practice, so we're exploring how that is going to be impacted and what we can do in 2.0. Again, first and last name getting mixed up was mentioned here, so that's something we're looking into. So another great example of when the record was entered, the last name was just misspelled. So when trying to run the deduping, it wasn't getting caught. Because the first and last name didn't match, only the date of birth matched. So I think um, again, this is another example we're giving to our devs and potentially the need to open up. It should actually be caught by our nickname database, but we're also looking at the need to expand the percentage match. It seems like there's a few things that should have been coming back that weren't, that might have just been just enough off that they were falling under our threshold for what we consider a close enough match. So we're going to be looking into that and the next sprint we start. I say that right here. So we need to expand the percentage that we match on. I need to take this to the state group. Our agendas have been action packed, so I have a few UAT items that I need to get back to them. This is talking about switching first and last names. So I'll get feedback here. So on the tables, we always say last name, first name. However, in our searches, we always say first name, last name, and even in the table here. Oh my goodness. Last name, first name. So this was just saying that we should either like potentially flipping these or making that match. So we're always searching and seeing the data in the same format. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Would you prefer, if we make this update, to either have the table switched or have the order of the search field switched?
I think it should be last name, first name. That's how we've always done it, because you're always going to have like a ton of Michaels, a ton of Matthews, a ton of Jennifers, but last names might not necessarily be. So when we run reports, we've always had last name first.
Okay.
I like the last name first. Otherwise, like that's probably why people are goofing up the search, because they accidentally put it in the wrong way.
It's
Olivia, are you asking about the view in the table or the order of data entry?
We're gonna make a match, so it really doesn't
Okay,
matter. Whichever one you would prefer first would be the first in the data entry and the first in the table.
Yeah, that's tough.
So,
It is
so
out of habit. She's right. I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, it looks kind of intuitive, first name, last name. But out of habit, it's like I'm expecting to see last name field before the first name field. So I kind of inclined to agree. But I'll leave it up to everyone.
well, and me for sometimes changes is good. We're so accustomed of doing everything the same way over. I kind of could go with the first name, last name, just to kind of get out of the old way. But yeah, like Rory just said, we'll see how this go. Cause I can work with either way. I mean, it's it's not that difficult if you ask me. But let's see what the panel have to say.
Well, and we can also keep it the way, I mean, it is if it's better to see the listing last name first, but when you're searching and talking to the customer, you're saying, let's get the first name, get the last name.
Correct.
Um, you
Yes, I
know,
would like it like that. Yes.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, what's the compelling argument to make the data entry and the table be the same?
we just got some feedback that it could cause some confusion because you're entering it one way and then viewing it another way. And it might be causing mix-ups. But I mean, I'm sure you could argue it based on what other people have said too. Like it could be because it's best practice. It could be people aren't reading the field headers close
Yeah.
enough. So
Yeah, this is a goofy one because when you're doing data entry, it's intuitive first name, last name, almost right? I mean,
yeah.
okay. But I know personally, for whatever it's worth, when I see a list, I want to see last name as the first field, or I want to see that be the sort field. So
That makes more sense to me. But with data entry input, it's usually first, then last.
So I think we leave it the way it is now. And if we continue, it was one comment about that. If we continue to have other folks get into this and we're going to have another round of UAT on this specific dedupe search because we're going to be making pretty extensive updates to it based on this round of UAT. We can circle back and explore if it continues to come up and is an issue, what our solution is. I don't necessarily think every time something's mentioned, we need to necessarily jump and do it right away, but it's something that I will be mindful of moving forward to see how that impacts other feedback we get.
Yeah, and I like what people are, you guys like Mike and Lisa said too. There's a happy medium of like at least as long as the list populates. If you can make the list then populate. I mean, a dedupe search, yeah, it's fine. It's as long as lists of customers or applicants, registrants when you're doing searches, not necessarily the dedupe search, but when you're doing other searches, to search with the first and last is fine. But then I guess, yeah, like that happy medium would be then as long as so that, yeah, when you want to sort or you're exporting lists of, participant names, if the last name is first, because then that way you can see, there's people that do have the same last name. You can kind of sort through and sort alphabetically. So I do, yeah, I agree with with like the data entry is the one first name, last name, but then data exporting, it's nice to have it sometimes where we can have the last name.
And something we're going to explore as like a 2.0 version is giving folks the ability to reorganize their columns and hold that based on their login. So if people really do like first name, last name, later down the road, that's something that we're planning to support. So I think for now we leave it as is unless we get, strong reasons why.
hey, Olivia, a question. Is the data entry for the first name and last name, is that being done from a form or is that being done by talking with the customer?
It should be done by talking with a customer.
Okay.
However, I don't for application, we're really moving into creating an application that can replace paper forms that have to be done and then input into the system. For the creating the customer record, that's a little different because they might not necessarily have the customer sit down to do that. They might gather some information at the front desk to get it in while the customer is like going to use the resource room or something. Um,
Okay. Well, I guess the point of the question is this is kind of minor, I guess, but if you're wanting a customer friendly system, kind of the feel of the
mhm.
normality is and more informal and more collegial or congenial, I guess, is first name, last name. If you say, okay, last name, first name, that's almost robotic.
Yeah.
So it's more of a disconnect between making a connection with that customer. Okay, that's my touchy feely comment this week.
No, that's a very good point. The other two items we have in here, we included, or we updated the error message that shows for date of birth. So once you start typing it in, you lose the formatting that's grayed out in the text field. So we show it in the error message too. So folks know like, oh, I got an error because I just put in a 2-digit year or something. This is being explored as part of the calendar picker. It was noted that sometimes folks don't change the year. They just pick a date from the calendar. We are, as I said, we're looking at different calendar picker options. Additionally, though, I did want to note that we're going to have some checks in place. So folks cannot enter like somebody with a 2024 date of birth. They're going to have to be at least 13 years old in order to have a record created. I think there might still be a little bit of state talk around that, but this is from some federal regulation about having online accounts created for youth. And there has to be additional things in place if they're under 13. So that's why we have 13 as the age requirement. And then additionally, we're wanting to look at having age requirements around applications because youth have to be a certain age in order to even be, in the program, do the application. So this is just for the customer record part. Subject to change, though, if additional conversations happen with the state and they want to reevaluate that. But that is just to say that nobody should be accidentally entering in somebody because they left 2024. The system's going to say, hey, you can't do that. I got some feedback here about some customer profile stuff. That is still in development. So if you go into these pages, these are not ready for review. These are still being built out and have devs actively working in them. So any feedback that I got on these pages and the editing abilities within these pages, I passed along to the BA working on that, but you will be asked to look at it again when it is all done. If they're crossed out, it just is because it applied to either the customer listing or creating customer records. So I moved them where they belonged so they could be part of the full conversation. Crystal, if you could maybe come back and look at this comment, I want to see, I think there was your first and your third. If you can give me, or no, we talked about your first, so this one's good. Your third, if you can give me examples of the names and date of birth you use so I can have that as like a scenario to provide to our devs, that would be fantastic. And then we are going to include middle initial in the search. So when as part of the conversation we had, this is something we're looking at including, so it's something you can try to minimize dupes on and know to like preview to know if it is a duplicate customer. I need to actually update this comment. For this one, I'm going to be doing additional testing around the nickname database to see if it captures it. If not, we will include this as a scenario, and this falls into the percent match items we need to look at with the devs for our deduping. So this is a whole item. I'm going to discuss this with the state. This is not something I have the ability to answer. It's going to be more of a policy process and on their part for how they want that handled. So, something that I'm gonna have to go back to them on. And this is noted above and is going to be discussed. It's the whole pop-up item as well. So that covers it. That is all of the UAT feedback we got. If you want to do any additional testing, you can until the 26th. You do not have to. Your SMEs do not have to. We will be implementing lots of updates in the nickname database and looking at all the feedback we got. And we're going to be making pretty extensive updates to this based on this UAT. So you're going to see this again. We're going to be closing the entire release 1 UAT. And in a few weeks, we'll be opening up release 2 UAT, which will have several cycles. As part of that, we're going to see this stuff come back around so you can look at the new adding and previewing customers, the new way that the dedupe search works, and the enhancement to being able to search on a quick search or a first and last name search. So it's not the last time you'll see this by any means, but if you do want to take another look before the 26th, you're welcome to. Do we have anything on the rest of the agenda that I need to move things along for? Or can I open things up for question and answer? Let's see. I'm going to open the agenda and answer my own question. I'm assuming we don't have anything else, or one of the BAs that needed to cover their topic would have told me. So do you guys have any questions or any items you want to take a closer look at before we close out for the day?
I think, Olivia, you were asking me about the record that I used. It was the one you're looking at right there, the Robert Brown.
Robert, oh, this one right here?
Yeah,
Perfect.
because you see the birth dates, there's a 110 and a 10-1.
Yeah, I'm just gonna copy that and put it over there. Perfect. Where are you at?
And it had the added
Right
bonus
here.
of having a suffix on one of them.
It's a good example though. It's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, because that duplicate does actually exist currently in the system. And I just was looking for stuff to try.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, with that, I'll give you guys back a little bit more than 30 minutes of your day. We will not be meeting next week because it is the holiday, but we will plan on talking to you all the following week. I'm getting really close to having some universal career plan items ready to review and show you guys. So be ready for that. It's one of the things coming down the pipeline. I know we have a few other things as well. But when we get back from Thanksgiving, we're going to have lots to cover between then and Christmas. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yep. You too, everyone.